Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
What have you got in store for us?
What have we got in store? Oh, Matt, it's an anniversary year.
It is.
You may have noticed, yes. So I thought that I'd go for a book that celebrates an anniversary. Oh, I've been missing the Doctor. So let's bring Doctors back. So we're going to have a multiple Doctor story. We are going to be experiencing Supremacy of the Cybermen.
Which is a Titan comic, I think, right?
It's a Titan comic, yeah, by George Mann and Cavan Scott on writing duties, and features several Doctors.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm excited, and that'll be a fun anniversary story, like you said, to tie into the 60th.
Yes.
And now our story continues.
Podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London.
Happy May.
Happy May. Happy May.
How's it going, Chris?
Yes. We were experiencing A&E last night. Kind of like it's the emergency room in British healthcare parlance, because Lauren is on the mend, and hopefully be even more on the mend by the time you hear this. But she celebrated the bank holiday weekend by falling down the stairs.
Oh no.
But fortunately, she fell with aplomb and managed to fall in such a way that she didn't hit her head. So realising that she had lost control, she then was trying to pin herself against a wall and was then just kind of like sliding violently down the steps. But so it's just legs or leg.
Oh.
But, yes, I will be bringing stuff because she will now be living a downstairs existence next.
Well, I hope she rests and mends up soon and feels better.
Yes.
And hey, the silver lining is, at least with the NHS, you're not several thousand pounds in debt like you would be in the United States if that happened.
No, that's true. It's true. It did take her 7 hours to be seen.
Oh.
Yeah, but at least we are not in debt. So, yeah.
Sorry, I got some noise coming from my end outside.
Okay.
A neighbor decided to start banging on something.
Excellent.
I feel like it's going to be one of those days.
Yes.
So we do have some Doctor Who news to share. Jinx Monsoon has been announced as going to be in the new season.
Yes.
Which is a bit of worlds colliding because I am a Drag Race aficionado and actually saw Jinx in person a few months back at her holiday show in Minneapolis, which was really fun. And now there's a Doctor Who connection.
Cool.
This is not the first Drag Race crossover. That would have been a year ago in May when Tea or Coffee entered the time fracture in an official Doctor Who YouTube video.
Okay.
I'm hoping that Jinx plays the Master of the Land of Fiction or something along those lines. It looks like her costume is giving me like, is it the Music Meister from Batman sort of vibes?
There is a definite Batman vibe, yeah.
And we've also heard that Murray Gold is returning as the composer for at least the 3 David Tennant specials, but interestingly hasn't not yet been announced for Ncuti Gatwa's season. So I don't know if they're going to be working in different composers or if they just haven't announced that piece of it yet.
Yeah, I imagine that they'll announce the things that they feel they have to, or stuff to whet people's appetite.
And speaking of Murrays, we have some sad news. Murray Melvin, who we referenced a few months back on our Torchwood episode, where we reviewed The Twilight Streets, has sadly passed away. Yeah. He of the Tyrant King and Barry Lyndon fame, and of course Billis Manger on Torchwood, passed away last month at the age of 90. But he had a very long Sounds like wonderful life, especially related to the preservation of theater in-person experiences on the West End and such, and a strong advocate for that. And I still have multiple Big Finishes that he's in that I haven't listened to, and who knows, he may have recorded some additional material for Big Finish that hasn't been released yet.
Yeah, who knows?
And then turning to Doctor Who book news, got a couple of items this month, nowhere near as exhaustive as last month's announcements. But Penguin are reissuing Origin Stories, which came out last year as a short story anthology, adding a brand new 11th story to the collection featuring Donna Noble and the 10th Doctor. And that will be releasing as a paperback on July 27th. And we have a little bit more information about the Wanties, aka the 2010s book. Apparently it's going to be an epic poem and not a novel, written by a poet whose name escapes me at the moment. And I've heard that it may focus on the weeping angels telling their story like a Greek chorus.
Yes, I have heard this, and I can't remember who the person is.
But that sounds kind of refreshing and different, and will be our second book of poetry-based Doctor Who after the Now We Are 600.
Yeah.
Also, interestingly, Rebellion on Treasure Island has been delayed once again, this time to October 2023, meaning Josephine and the Argonauts will likely be published before this one. And this, the Treasure Island book was first announced in October of 2021 for publication in the summer of 2022. And so I haven't seen a title delayed this much since The Dalek Project by Justin Richards, which was reworked and redrawn to be an 11th Doctor story instead of a 10th Doctor story, and we're kind of encroaching on So Vile a Sin territory here.
Yes. yeah. My So Vile a Sin dar is going off. But, yes. So.
And finally, Titan Comics have officially announced a 2-issue comic series which will launch on July 5th as part of the multi-platform Doomsday story. And this is a 2-parter by Jody Hauser, which will feature the return of Missy on the trail of the new assassin character Doom. So that makes me more interested to read that title.
Yeah, my appetite for the whole Doomsday thing is a bit muted. But we'll see. Yeah. I have been making a bit of way through Time Lord Victorious, the Time Lord Victorious audios. Which seemed to work okay as a kind of like the Eighth Doctor stuff. Sort of like quite a bit of them seemed to work all right as like a little standalone trilogy. By that I mean not the 2-hander with Tennant, but the other 3.
They are sitting in my Big Finish queue pile, which grows exponentially long every day, it seems.
Fair enough.
I did listen to a Big Finish this past month at your suggestion. I re-listened to The Wormery.
Oh, yes.
And that was a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah.
A nice Iris and 6th Doctor adventure.
Yeah, I think if that's book news done, that means that we have show and tell. And I think it's your turn.
It is. So I did a few Who-related things this past month, including, as I mentioned, listening to some Big Finish. I also watched 6 more episodes of the Sarah Jane adventures, which were new to me. The Mark of the Berserker, The Temptation of Sarah Jane, and Enemy of the Bane. And I hadn't seen Nick Courtney's final on-screen appearance of the Brigadier before, so that was rather exciting. But those are not my show and tell.
Ooh.
The thing I want to talk about is I read a Doctor Who comic. I decided that before I jumped into Supremacy of the Cybermen, I would read 4 Doctors by Paul Cornell with art by Neil Edwards. I was thinking, since this was the first multi-Doctor event, maybe it'll get referenced in Supremacy of the Cybermen. Listener, you need not have worried. It's not mentioned. And it's not to be confused with The 4 Doctors, which is a subscriber-exclusive audio from Big Finish. And the art by Neil Edwards is especially on point. The likenesses are incredible, and it's a bit of a shame Titan couldn't get him for Supremacy of the Cybermen as well. I think that would have been really cool. And I won't spoil the comic too much in case we ever decide to pick it for a full review, but a couple of tidbits to share. Paul Cornell brings back his Reapers. There's a lovely scene where Season 8 Clara, who's been traveling with the 12th Doctor, meets the 11th Doctor again. And then when the 10th Doctor walks into the 12th Doctor's TARDIS, he exclaims, "Oh, this is the Master's TARDIS. I thought he might be involved." Which was funny. And there were kind of cute little interludes done in like a comic or chibi style. I think one of which I sent over to you, Chris, just as like a "Can you believe this?" which features a companion support group.
Yes.
That looks suspiciously like the scene in Power of the Doctor. but this came out some 7 years earlier. Although it had a kind of a heartbreaking twist with Donna in the final panel there.
Yes.
Yeah, and overall it was a fun story that makes me want to learn more about Alice and Gabby, who also feature in the book we're reading for this month.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just fun to dip into that adventure, and it's a very different take on the multi-doctor story from what we ended up reading with Supremacy of the Cybermen too.
Yes.
How about you, Chris?
Right. So I have gone for The Gold, which is a TV series that was just recently finished airing on BBC. It's based on a true story, based on the Brinksmat robbery in the 1980s, and features Hugh Bonneville as a cop investigating all of the stuff that's going down. Also features people like Dominic Cooper and Jack Lowden, and also as a assistant commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Peter Davison.
Huh.
So, because I was already thinking of including, because I was thinking, I'm enjoying this. This is sort of fun, and there's quite a few people who are new to me who I think would be very good in Doctor Who, particularly Charlotte Spencer, who plays one of the cops. And then suddenly Peter Davison rocks up. Yeah, I think it's going to be on Paramount Plus in America. Oh. It is certainly worth people's while. I don't think it's necessarily worth getting Paramount Plus if you don't already have it. Yeah, so it's 6 episodes, each an hour long, dealing with bits of British history, including the claim that a large percentage of gold that you buy from shops in the UK is gold from this robbery.
Huh, interesting.
So, like 90%, I think, or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, we have Paramount Plus. We get it typically for Star Trek, and have slogged through season 2 of Picard in anticipation of finally getting around to watching season 3, which I hear is much better. But that's great that it'll be available on there, so I'll check it out, especially with the Peter Davison connection there. Mm. Excellent.
There's also quite a bit being filmed in, I was going to say Tenerife. It was Lanzarote was where Peter Davison went for Planet of Fire.
Oh, yeah. Well, that brings us to our book for this month.
It does.
Which is the Supremacy of the Cybermen graphic novel. And this is the second of 3 multi-doctor summer events from Titan Comics, which was featuring the set of particular doctors. It was preceded by 4 Doctors in 2015, which I just kind of talked about in the show and tell, and was followed up by The Lost Dimension in 2017. And it's kind of interesting where this occurs for each Doctor from a setting perspective. For the 9th Doctor, it's after the events of the Doctor Dances, but before Boomtown, so Rose and Captain Jack are with him. For the 10th Doctor, it's set between the next Doctor and Planet of the Dead, so technically the second 10th Doctor, post Journey's End Regeneration. And for the 11th Doctor, it's set after the events of Series 5, but kind of in that gap where you have, the Christmas Carol and Rory and Amy off doing their own things. And for the 12th Doctor, it's set after Series 9 and the events of Heaven Sent and Hell Bent during his back-to-back Christmas specials era. In addition to Gabby Gonzalez and Cindy Wu, who are traveling with the 10th Doctor, we have Alice Oberfume, who is an artist who's traveling with the 11th Doctor. So some comics exclusive companions here.
Yeah, and Gabby and Cindy are Canadian, I think, aren't they?
Oh, are they?
According to the TARDIS Wiki, yes. So I'm like, the first Canadian companions.
I was hoping to learn more about them in this story, but there's so much going on that I think any companion developments was probably in each of their original titles.
Yeah.
And this one is written by George Mann, who we've read before. He wrote Engines of War, and I think he wrote, Paradox Lost for the 11th Doctor? And then Cavan Scott, of course, who has written a ton of tie-in fiction, both in print and in audio, and then so he's written extensively for the Star Wars universe. It's 5 issues long. It was collected as a graphic novel.
Yeah, and it's a graphic novel that we have read.
Mm-hmm. And this story, I think we mentioned it last month, but this story came out to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Cybermen, which made their debut in 1966. And this one features art by Ivan Rodriguez.
Yes, and also Alessandro Vitti and Tazio Bettin.
Yeah.
I stand slightly corrected. Gabby Gonzalez is American, so Cindy is Canadian.
And they seem to be friends or have some sort of connection.
Yeah, they share an origin story or something involving a rabid raccoon.
Huh. Not named Rocket, I'm guessing.
No.
Well, shall we jump in?
Yeah, let's.
All right, so this story opens with a storm raging on the planet Karn, which we saw in Night of the Doctor and Brain of Morbius. And one of the sisters on Karn finds the TARDIS buried beneath starship debris. And you think it might be the 8th Doctor that emerges, but it's the 12th Doctor requesting to be taken to Ohelia, who's the leader of the Sisterhood, and she showed up a few times in various Capaldi episodes, in addition to Night of the Doctor. And then we cut to prehistoric Earth, where the 11th Doctor and Alice are searching for a fruit. They're on a little bit of a mission from Jenny so that they can gift Madame Vastra a special fruit that Silurians used to enjoy that's now extinct for their anniversary. The fruit that Alice finds, however, is a Nangura fruit, which, although delicious to Time Lords, is toxic to Silurians. And as the Doctor's snacking on the fruit, a dinosaur breaks through the brush and the two start to run. And then there's also a bunch of different interludes or preludes that are collected and published later on in the story, but chronologically they take place here.
Yeah.
Including we see scenes of the First Doctor and Susan encountering Mondasian Cybermen in Totter's Lane. We see the 5th Doctor and someone who sort of looks like Perry fleeing a Cyberman-conquered Skaro. We run into the 6th Doctor and Mel, who encounter Cybermen during the trial of a Time Lord in the courtroom, kind of at the entrance to the Matrix. And we also visit with the 7th Doctor, which is, I think, where our dramatic reading comes in.
Yes, indeed.
And this month's reading comes to us from Kenny Smith, from the Pieces of 8 podcast.
So, yeah, let's have a listen.
Warning. The Doctor has infiltrated the cyber fleet. Repeat, the Doctor has infiltrated the fleet.
Yes, no need to go on about it. You would have liked this, Ace. Nemesis mines on every cyber ship. Total destruction at the press of a button. Boom.
The Doctor has been located.
Oh no. Well, what are you waiting for? Eradicate me!
Professor.
No.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you so much, Kenny, for reading that.
Yes, yeah, thank you. So that was a dramatic
Yeah.
review.
A cyberized converted ace.
Yeah, and of course that could be an explanation as to how she left. But obviously that would be contradicted by the power of the Doctor.
Well, as Sophie says, just another strike of the anvil.
Yes, indeed. So another TARDIS crew we'll just check in on. In the 24th century, we've got the 10th Doctor, Gabby and Cindy, and they're travelling via space bus through the Null Zone to a planet called Cosmomart. And Cosmomart is basically a giant shopping mall. It's kind of like Mall of America in space, isn't it? And the three of them transmat into the mall to find it's been abandoned before they are ambushed by Sontarans. Over in the Powell estate in 2006, because I think it's always 2006 in the Powell estate, Jackie Tyler is fleeing from a mechanised dog before she's rescued by the 9th Doctor, Rose, and Jack. So London is somewhat ruined.
Speaking of mechanized dogs, when in those flashback sequences,
Yeah.
we got a horrific sight where the 4th Doctor finds K9 being converted into a cyber dog, which was very chilling.
Yeah, but also, why would the Cybermen bother? You're cyberizing something that's already cyber.
That's true, but it certainly looked cool.
Yes, it's a good image. Yeah. So Jackie believes that whatever's happened to London is the Doctor's doing, which is a fair enough assumption. But in fact, Earth has been invaded by the Cybermen. The Doctor reckons that there's more going on because the invasion and like the brutal efficiency of it is far more than the Cybermen are normally capable of. So they decide to go and rescue the TARDIS, which is held at a cyberized St. Paul's Cathedral. Because it's the Cybermen, let's go to St. Paul's.
Yes. Something the show has done on many occasions, and would do so again, I think. Well, no, I think...
No, I think it's already done by now.
Yeah, it already aired by the time this had come out with Missy.
Yeah. I sometimes work near St. Paul's, and so I have been known of a lunch break to go and do the sidewalk.
I visited those steps. They were a lot less steep than I had thought.
Yes.
I think they had been regraded over the years.
Yes, they have.
To make them accessible.
Yes.
There's ramps and such.
Yeah.
All right. So then back at the Mall of America in space, 10th Doctor surrenders to the Sontarans while Cindy lobs a shop window dummy head at a soldier. And though she and Gabby are ready to run, the Doctor is adamant that they obey the Sontarans' commands. And the three are led by Commander Sturg to the Sontaran flagship, where Cindy realizes that the Doctor wanted to be captured. And we jump from the 10th Doctor to the 11th Doctor and Alice fleeing back in prehistoric times, where their pursuer is suddenly killed by a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a cybernetic implant. And before the T-Rex can eat them, they're surrounded by cyberized Silurians who are using the other cyber-converted dinosaurs as beasts of war. Yeah, some really cool imagery with the cyberized Silurians riding dinosaurs and such.
You say it's cool imagery, and you're not wrong, but also, bits to me, kind of like, we saw some of this in kind of like Assimilation.
That's true, yeah.
Where we had those kind of like flashes around and you saw various Doctor Who alien species being converted into Cybermen. But it's cool though.
We even saw it before then too, right? In the, I'm blanking on the name, is it Adrian Solomon?
Oh, yes.
Like one-off cyber stories in DWM as well.
Yes, yeah.
One of which featured a cyber Silurian. So cool imagery, although definitely not original to this story.
No, but over on the planet Cavan, the 12th Doctor tells the Sisterhood that there are some vortex tsunamis occurring throughout the time vortex, which sounds awkward. And he's been trying to reach Gallifrey, but he can't breach the transduction barrier, and also nor can he contact the High Council. And so as such, he's come to the Sisterhood to request usage of their door. This is a secret door that the Sisterhood use to reach Gallifrey that nobody is supposed to know about. Before Ohila can deny him access, Cybermen enter the chamber, and with no alternatives, she leads the Doctor to the door and sends him through, closing it to prevent the Cybermen from following. And so the Doctor runs off to the High Council chamber, calling for his fellow Time Lords to break out all the weapons they have to deal with this problem. But once he gets to the Council chamber, he's greeted by the sight of Rassilon.
And this is the Donald Sumter version of Rassilon here.
Yeah, though at times it looks a bit like the Timothy Dalton version.
Well, there are times that all of the likenesses look like other people. I have to say that, and I may be tipping my hand here, but that is one of the weaker points of this collection. So despite this armada of cyber ships surrounding the capital, and we should mention too that Rassilon's wearing a cyberized Time Lord collar that looks very similar to the cyber lords that we saw in Power of the Doctor and at the end of Jodie's 12th season as well.
Yes.
To the point where it's like, oh, did they perhaps get inspiration from this story? Or
yes.
Maybe all paths lead to how they're depicted there. But so here you have the cyber ships surrounding the capital, and the 12th Doctor's demanding to know what Rassilon's doing back on his planet, as well as where he picked up his new outfit. And because if you remember at the end of Hellbent, he's fleeing in what looks like a bow ship. And Rassilon only scoffs because Gallifrey is now under the jurisdiction of the Gallifreyan Cyber Fleet, which is the army through which Rassilon is going to return the Time Lords to their former glory. So Rassilon's up to his old despotic ways here.
Yeah.
And Rassilon explains that after he's exiled, despite the general's worry, he did find somewhere to go. And of course, the general was depicted in Day of the Doctor and also that two-parter.
Yeah, Heaven Sent.
Yep.
Hellbent, yeah.
But Rassilon explains that after he was exiled, he found somewhere to go, which was the home base of the last remnants of the Cybermen. And then on prehistoric Earth, the 11th Doctor's using his sonic screwdriver to disrupt the implants on the Cyber Silurians before he and Alice flee. but not back to the TARDIS, which is what Alice wants to do. Cyberman technology shouldn't even exist in this era at all, and the Doctor's determined to find out what the Cybermen are up to, because he can't let them have access to time travel technology.
Yeah, apart from the fact that in Earthshock, a cyber ship did go back in time.
That's true. One wonders also, though, was that the event that the Silurians went underground into hibernation for, or was it some other event that they were anticipating and they just so happened to have been underground when their ship crashed into the Earth?
And also, do we know that it was older Silurians? Because it could be that some Silurians we see in the more recent times, like Victorian and onwards, are the ones who kind of like listen to the warnings.
Yeah, and these Cybermen, just judging on how they're depicted, appear to be the Nightmare in Silver design that we saw in that story.
Yeah. But yeah, so checking back in with the 10th Doctor, he and his companions are on the Sontaran flagship that's entering the Sontar system, and it starts being attacked by an unseen enemy. And the Doctor's kind of like reassuring everybody that Sontaran engineering is pretty sound. But ship has to make a fiery crash landing, and on the surface, he, Cindy, and Gabby are brought before the Sontaran Prime, who is a first-generation Sontaran.
Who's bearded and looks kind of like a big Santa Claus.
Yes, yeah. I wonder if Disney Plus ever want to do Sontaran Prime, if they would try and get Russell Crowe. It's that kind of vibe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sontaran Prime is attempting to put on a brave face, but the Doctor knows that he's scared because the Cybermen, the Sontarans, on the run. And flicking back to the 9th Doctor over in 2006, we've got Jack is ramming the hover car into the Cyberman base. Have we said that they've got a hover car? They've got a hover car. And basically, everyone's running into the TARDIS, so that's Rose, her mum, Jack, and the Doctor. And the Doctor is confident that everything's going to be okay because they're back in the TARDIS. And then the TARDIS console explodes.
Yes, so we're going from one crisis to another.
Yes.
And back on Sontar Prime, the Prime Sontaran shows the 10th Doctor the status of the Sontaran Empire, which, save Sontar itself, has been completely conquered by the Cybermen, and even the Rutan, as well as Alpha Centauri, have fallen.
One imagines it's not too hard for Alpha Centauri to fall. I don't know. Sorry.
There's another spin-off.
I don't think we see a cyberized Alpha Centauri.
No.
Probably just as well.
Yep. So the Doctor realizes that the Cybermen are not merely assimilating worlds, but actively removing races that pose a threat to galactic conquest. And though the Sontarans are impressed by the Cybermen's glorious ruthlessness, the Doctor is dismayed, because he had come to the Sontarans to muster an army to fight the Cybermen. And as it turns out, the Sontarans were actively seeking the Doctor out for the same reason, that they need him as like a field general. And the Doctor's seen conflict on almost an unimaginable scale, and the thought is that he'll lead the Sontarans to victory over the Cybermen. So jumping back to the 11th Doctor and Alice, the 11th Doctor is providing Alice with background about the Cybermen, and the two find a shipyard which are constructing arcs, similar to what we saw in Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. And determined, the Doctor realizes that the Cybermen objective is to, via the arcs, kind of seed the galaxy with cyber technology before most species have had a chance to evolve. And back on Gallifrey, with the 12th Doctor, Rassilon is recounting how he marveled at the Cybermen clinging to life and their purpose, and saw an opportunity in their lack of strong leadership, and giving himself over to the Cybermen, or like the Cyberiad, which is what we saw in Nightmare in Silver. Rassilon led them back to Gallifrey with the intent that a Time Lord Cyberman union would remake the universe. So, thinking very much along Sasha Dewan's Masters lines there. And the 12th Doctor is appalled, because by giving himself over to the Cyberiad, Rassilon has spat in the face of the Time Lord purity that he had boasted about his entire life. And a contingent of Time Lord soldiers then transmat in, shooting the Cybermen, and transmat out with the Doctor, bringing the Doctor face to face with the General. So the General's still operating, and she has like a small group of Time Lords that haven't been converted yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is the more recent black version of the General.
Yeah.
Yeah, so telling her side of the story, the General says that she'd always known that Rassilon would return to Gallifrey. Which is fair enough, because I mean, he has a habit of rocking up.
Yeah.
But she never expects him to have allies, especially not the Cybermen. And the Cybermen invasion force was too powerful for the Time Lord armies, leaving General no choice but to gather whatever few survivors she could in the Undercity of the capital. And the base of the resistance is, funnily enough, the tomb of Rassilon, which is the only spot on the planet that Cybermen can't penetrate.
Which we saw George Mann revisit in Engines of War as well.
Yeah, so the 12th Doctor doubts that the tomb shielding will be useful, knowing that Rassilon's going to come for him. So he then does ask, why was a fleet of battle TARDISes not sent out? Rassilon was one step ahead of them, it would appear, doing something to the Eye of Harmony. And as a result, each and every TARDIS has been killed. And then the Doctor suddenly convulses as Cybermen's temporal attacks begin rewriting his timeline.
Oh. And back on prehistoric Earth, the 11th Doctor's finished hacking into the Silurian teleportal, which leads him and Alice into a workshop that has been repurposed into a large-scale conversion factory. And accessing the computer banks, the Doctor finds that the Cybermen are receiving quantum data packets from the end of time, which was where the 12th Doctor and Rassilon are hanging out. And the intruder detection systems then come to life, and partially converted Cybermen are activated and start lumbering forth to intercept the Doctor. And then back on Sontar, as the Sontaran army is assembling, the 10th Doctor explains to Cindy and Gabby that the Sontarans have been targeted for their cloning technology, because with the Sontaran cloning technology, the Cybermen could mass produce an endless supply of Mondasians, and with the Cybermen's ability to install void drives into planets, they could mobilize Sontar into a planetary cyber cloning facility and conquer the universe in very little time. But Gabby points out that if the Cybermen are going to invade Sontar, then where are they? Because the Sontaran Prime proclaims that the Cybermen have evolved beyond the cyber fleet for planetary invasions. But in an instant, hundreds of Cybermen then descend on Sontar from numerous blue portals that open up. And the Doctor realizes that they have not evolved, but have been given help. And somehow, the Cybermen have acquired Gallifreyan technology that the Doctor had last seen used in the last Great Time War, when he was fighting as the War Doctor.
So in 2006, the 9th Doctor, Rose, Jackie and Jack with the exploding TARDIS scanner. They're hearing the cloister bell going off, which is fair enough. That's the kind of thing that cloister bells are supposed to go off for. The TARDIS's internal systems are starting to break down because it's thought to be an implosion going on the way.
And I'm pretty sure that that's connected to whatever Rassilon did in the future, but it's never really explicitly stated, I don't think.
No. But it feels like it, doesn't it? So the TARDIS crew and Jackie have to run out of the TARDIS and get onto the flyer as the TARDIS interior is continuing to shrink. Over on Sontar, the 10th Doctor is so amazed by the Cybermen using Time Lord tech that he fails to notice a Cyberman teleporting in from behind, though the Sontaran Prime tackles this Cyberman, but is then killed in the process. And Sturg, who was a Sontaran that we met fairly early on in this story, destroys the Cyberman before he points out Cyber Kings on the horizon. Oh joy.
And these are those kind of giant cyber mechs that we saw in The Next Doctor.
Yes. Yeah. For me, one of my less favourites Cyberman stories.
There's a lot of them, too. There's like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah,
like
there are multiple.
AT-ATs almost walking.
Yeah. On prehistoric Earth, the situation has grown so dangerous that the 11th Doctor teleports Alice to safety, telling her to return to the TARDIS. The Cyber Silurians are continuing to advance, but the Doctor's not worried, because he thinks that Cybermen can't assimilate Time Lords, but then quickly prove him wrong, as one of their number extends their tongue and begins to upgrade him.
Yeah. He's kind of the Silurian kind of lashes their tongue out
Yeah.
And it delivers the nanite probes that way, which is almost like a Borg Queen tentacle sort of deal.
Yes. Going back to 2006, you've got Jack, Ninth Doctor, Rose and Jackie trying to get onto that flyer, and Jack's providing cover fire before he's suddenly shot dead. And then the Doctor and Jackie realise that Rose has been turned into a Cyberman. So it's getting worse.
Yeah. And back on Gallifrey, the 12th Doctor remembers that his 6th incarnation and Melanie Bush were captured by the Cybermen in the Matrix. And his warrior incarnation was fighting a time war against the Cybermen, and his predecessor being dragged into a conversion pod by the Cyber-Silurians. And then we get some of those other scenes that we talked about earlier where the Cybermen were advancing on his 4th incarnation with K9, and then his 2nd incarnation gets upgraded during the events of the moon base. And then a Time Lord informs the General that Rassilon's arrived, and confidently the Doctor opens the tomb and greets the Cyber President. And remembering when the 12th Doctor had saved Gallifrey, the General is taken aback at the Doctor. From her perspective, she thinks he's selling out the Time Lord resistance to Rassilon, but the Doctor only laughs because the key to defeating power-mad despots is not to hide away, but to confront the villains head-on. And Rassilon ushers his prisoners into the Panopticon, which is now adorned with statues of Rassilon's previous incarnations, before he activates a lift that then takes them to the Eye of Harmony. And arriving, both the Doctor and the General are shocked at what they find.
So in London in 2006, Ninth Doctor drags Jackie away from the cyberized Rose as he swears to avenge her. And he's aiming his sonic screwdriver at Rose, but then a Cyberman technovirus spreads from the device, from the screwdriver, onto the Doctor's hand. Realising how the Cybermen have managed to conquer Earth so fast, the Doctor ushers Jackie into the flyer and says that the Cybermen they've improved their upgrading process, and it's now basically an airborne technovirus. And the Doctor's capable of adjusting the shields of the flyer to filter out the virus to keep Jackie safe, but will leave her trapped inside with him. Then, flicking back to Sontar with the 10th Doctor, the Sontaran troops are following kind of like military protocol, but the 10th Doctor sort of points out that's why they'll be losing, because the cyber planners know exactly what the Sontarans will do, and so they're prepared for every eventuality. So Cindy, the Canadian companion, suggests ramming a Sontaran scout ship directly into one of the Cyber Kings. But General Sturg disagrees, saying that not only are Cindy and Gabby inexperienced pilots, and it's probably true, but the attack won't be of any tactical value. But the Doctor agrees and says that that's why Cindy's plan is perfect, because the Cybermen will not expect it.
Mm-hmm. Kind of the element of surprise there.
Yeah.
And the 11th Doctor, back on prehistoric Earth, awakens during his conversion, and despite the hopelessness he's feeling, he takes some solace in the fact that Alice is safe. And the Cyberiad hacks into his retinas to show him an image of a darkened TARDIS refusing Alice entry due to the Eye of Harmony stuff from earlier. And a spark lights within the Doctor as he highlights the error of assimilating him, because the Doctor's a tinkerer, and show him a machine and he'll try to reprogram it. Show him a proud warrior race that had its emotions cut out, and he'll return them tenfold. And so as the Cyber-Silurians convulse at the horror that they've become, with the Doctor reactivating their emotion centers of their brains throughout the network, Alice flees, and the Doctor has a little kind of bitter laugh at his small victory there. And then on Sontar, the Cyber King fumbles as it tries to intercept Cindy and Gabby's Sontaran sphere, which is kind of hurtling at it, which gives the 10th Doctor a perfect cover before their craft is simply swatted out of the air. Almost like the Cyber King is like clapping its hands, like knocking out a mosquito or something. And the seeming demise of his friends awakens a fury in the Doctor, and he rams his Sontar pod directly into the Cyber King's head. And exiting the pod, the Doctor wires himself into the Dreadnought and sends his rage throughout the Cyberiad, disrupting the invasion. And unbeknownst to him, Cindy and Gabby have survived the crash, and witness this act of the 10th Doctor's sacrifice.
Back in 2006, the Ninth Doctor can feel the nanites from the Cybermen swarming his entire body as he heads out of the flyer and is limping towards the TARDIS. He's told Jackie to stay on the flyer, but she ignores him and follows him onto the TARDIS. The Doctor says that the Cybermen are going to be using Earth as an experiment for their new invasion method. But if he can stop them here, they won't hurt anybody else. He overrides the implosion protocols on the TARDIS to rupture the containment field around the Eye of Harmony, thus creating an explosion large enough to destroy the Earth entirely. So things have escalated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Ninth Doctor returning back to his playbook of, well, just destroy the entire world like he thought he did as the War Doctor.
Yes, yeah.
And then back with the 12th Doctor, the Doctor's examining what appear to be looms, like from Lungbarrow, which Rassilon has wired several Time Lords into, and he's harvesting their regeneration energy and directing it into the Eye of Harmony. And Rassilon defends his actions by reminding the Doctor that he created the Time Lords in the first place, and they're his to command. And as the General is wired into a loom, Rassilon reveals the rest of his master plan. He thinks the universe is as good as dead, and at the moment it finally dies, because, again, Gallifrey's hiding out at the end of the universe, Rassilon will ignite the accumulated regeneration energy stored within the eye and quite literally regenerate the entire universe in his image. And, of course, the Cybermen then turn on their ally and claim that there will be a universal regeneration, but in the image of the Cybermen. And over Rassilon's protests, the Cybermen lock both him and the 12th Doctor into looms. And then the Doctor remembers, at that point, everything that his 9th, 10th, and 11th selves had been going through fighting the Cybermen, including the prelude encounters with Doctors 1 through 8 as well.
So in 2006, Jackie throws herself at the Ninth Doctor. Not for the first time, but this time she's doing it in an angry manner. She says that he's made a promise to Rose that he would protect Earth, and he can't destroy it. The Doctor is apologising profoundly, but Earth is beyond saving, and the energy is building up to detonation before it somehow vanishes. Then a closer analysis shows that the energy has been siphoned away, and then they find out why. Because Rose breaks into the TARDIS, brandishing a cyber weapon. Now we're going to be doing a little bit of dancing around various different timelines. On Sontar, the 10th Doctor is using his newly acquired Cyber King to literally be stomping out the invasion force before a cyber arc appears in the sky and starts doing a planetary cyber conversion. So things are pretty grim over there. Prehistoric Earth any better? Maybe not. The 11th Doctor is boasting about his victory. Then the Cyberiad terminates the Cyber Silurians. And the Cyber Arcs then launch, ready to infect the developing galaxy. And the Doctor can only howl in despair at his failure.
And back on Gallifrey, Rassilon is unconscious at this point, in spite of the 12th Doctor's attempts to awaken him. And before the Doctor can be wired into a state of perpetual regeneration, which ties into his timeless child energy unexpectedly.
Yes.
He's approached by the new cyber controller, and in spite of everything, the Doctor takes some comfort that the end of the universe will destroy the Cybermen along with everything else. But the cyber controller disagrees and continues to modify Rassilon's plan. Regeneration doesn't only bring a new incarnation, it accelerates the death of the current one. And using Time Lord technology, the Cybermen can then apply that principle on a universal scale. And as they begin, however, Rassilon reads as brain dead. And unconcerned, the cyber controller orders the Doctor plugged in as a replacement. And unseen by all, small bit of a smile creeps across Rassilon's face. And at this point, the 12th Doctor is awakened in a virtual recreation of the barn that we had seen in The Day of the Doctor and in Listen, where he's greeted by Rassilon, who masterminded the Doctor being plugged in. And the Cybermen have done the impossible and taught Rassilon humility, who at this point can do little more than beg the Doctor to win like he always does, but the Doctor's out of options. he recollects that the 11th Doctor tried to change the Cybermen by releasing the emotions. The 10th Doctor tried to become them by tapping into, their network, and the 9th Doctor tried to destroy them. And so the Doctor notes that he's taken various tacks, and they all, none of them worked. And Rassilon reveals that all the scenarios targeted at all the Doctor's past selves were designed to be too much for him and distract him from the true underlying machinations that were going on. That the Doctor needed to become a warrior to fight Rassilon's war, and now Rassilon must become a doctor to help heal the universe. It's kind of like in the 12th Doctor's mind palace, set in the barn, that all that was happening.
Yeah, so back in the real world, the Doctor and Rassilon have both been upgraded, and with the aperture now open, the Cybermen make ready for the final stage of their plans. In the simulation, Matrix-y thing, the boyhood barn, etc., the Doctor and Rassilon are glowing with regenerative energy, and the Doctor declares they must use their power to regenerate the old universe, as opposed to creating a new one. And so, finally agreeing to work together to initiate mental contact. And as the Cyber Controller starts basking in his victory, he's warned that the regenerative energy is flowing backwards through the Eye of Harmony. And the Doctor laughs, because Cybermen have been using the Eye of Harmony to affect all their changes to the universe, and that same path can be used to undo it all. And so regenerative energy flows through the eye from Gallifrey to Earth and everywhere in between, as the cyber upgrades are burnt off everyone and everything. As the cyber controller explodes from the energy overload, time rewinds and resets.
The cyber upgrades are burned off everyone. We do get quite a bit of multi-species nudity as they're deconverting, which
yes.
was like, oh, interesting. And then we have a bit of an epilogue where Rose Tyler happily reunites with her mother, much to the 9th Doctor's annoyance. The 10th Doctor endures Cindy and Gabby's indulgent shopping at the Cosmo Mart. And the 11th Doctor and Alice fly off in the TARDIS while snacking on some prehistoric fruit, which apparently Vastra can't eat.
Yes.
And then alone in his TARDIS, and I should actually note that alone in his predecessor's TARDIS, because they get the lighting and background wrong here, where it's the kind of the aqua blue of the 11th Doctor's second TARDIS, and no bookshelves versus the orange glow in the 12th Doctor. The 12th Doctor wonders if Rassilon remembers the Cybermen attack. He hopes that Rassilon does, believing that Rassilon deserves to remember, because after all, the Doctor can't be alone in everything.
So that is Supremacy of the Cybermen.
Mm.
What did you make of that?
I'm of two minds with this one. I felt that the collection was let down a little bit by the artwork, particularly the likenesses.
Yeah.
Kind of the scenes of like the ships and the Cybermen and the epic space battles and stuff. That was all fine, but the likenesses really did throw me off, where I think they had less than about a 50% hit rate. Where there were a few times where I'm like, it's supposed to be the 11th Doctor, or who is this supposed to be?
Yeah.
And it was especially noticeable reading this and 4 Doctors back to back, and it felt like a step backwards in terms of the art. On the story side, I enjoyed it, but it was interesting that it almost felt structurally like these were, because the Doctors don't actually ever meet up. It almost felt like you could re-edit this as like
Yes.
5 separate one-off adventures that seemed kind of spliced or kind of interconnected together.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the artwork. I do think that, like, the dialogue is captured well of the Doctors. I say particularly the 10th Doctor. And also as well, I thought the 11th. Yeah, I mean, I thought, all of the Doctors that are in the main story. But yeah, I don't know. Do I like the fact that the Doctors don't meet? I think I do. But also, though, I kind of think, surely, if the 12th Doctor is the only one who remembers this, I mean, does he not remember? Yeah, I mean, I guess he's only just started remembering it, hasn't he?
And it's also like a lot of it was kind of an alternate history, right? Where if they kind of take the tact that Stephen Moffat introduced, you have both sets of memories living alongside each other, and then one set fades gradually over time.
Yeah, I guess.
That's kind of how I thought about it in my head. But
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun story, a romp, I think. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like a kind of like a summer crossover from the big two superhero comics.
yeah.
So yeah, these things that you don't really want to be thinking too much about.
And like in the Four Doctors, all of the Doctors kind of met up at the beginning together, which is a different way to structure it. And I guess how I thought this was going to go was like, oh, the 11th Doctor's in prehistoric times, the 9th Doctor's in 2006, etc. Maybe they're going to each get kind of a mini adventure on their own in the different time zones, and then they're going to meet up all together, kind of like how the Sirens of Time is structured, where in that Big Finish audio, you have like each Doctor getting their own episode before they come together. But yeah, I was a little surprised that they never did actually unite or come together. But yeah, I think it's refreshing in that sense, in that it is unexpected, right?
Yeah, I think it's good that they don't, because it is overdone. So whereas here, they're encountering a common. I mean, I guess it's a bit like what they're trying to do with Doomsday, isn't it? That a common foe is being encountered, and like with Time Lord Victorious as well. It's just. So yeah, I think it worked. I mean, there's a fair few things here that are interesting. I mean, there isn't anything that's like super original, but I think it meshes together nicely. But it's just like some of the art is. I mean, I think the art itself is fine, as you were saying. It's just like the depictions of actors. I mean, at least the art kind of like shows humans how we know humans are. So it's not like McFarlane or someone like that, where not so much McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, where you just kind of, it's not how humans look. Here there's not crazy proportions, and we see people's feet.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I was kind of hoping that the cyber-converted canine was going to turn out to somehow be the big bad. Like behind everything. I also thought it was kind of weird that with the preludes, I think they were kind of supposed to be interspersed throughout the collection, and the way the graphic novel organized the content, they just put them all at the end. And then that felt a little out of place, because there were a few points in the narration where they're referencing stuff that happened, and it's like, I didn't flip to the end to read the preludes first.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, here they are. Kind of all tucked away as like apocrypha or an appendix.
Yeah, I think you're right that they ought to have tried to kind of like sprinkle them in. So, I mean, I guess one of the arguments is it would interrupt the narrative flow. It would also be quite a bitty start to what is a fairly bitty graphic novel anyway, if you'd had all the preludes right at the very start. Because I think that the preludes appeared in the regular Doctor Who comic books at the time, so not Supremacy of the Cybermen, but other ones, just as a kind of like a teaser.
Yeah, because they're all kind of like one-page, one-shots.
Yeah.
I was only expecting the Cybermen in this based on the title, so I was very surprised that the Sontarans had such a large role, as well as the Silurians, so that was kind of fun and unexpected.
Yeah, sure, you see a lot of kind of like continuity, but I also think if you were a comic person who had a vague understanding of Doctor Who, I think you could enjoy it. I don't think you get utterly lost.
Yeah, and it's very much new series focused, so if you're not as familiar with classic Who, you can still follow everything that's going on and such.
Yeah, it's not sort of like dependent on obscure bits of kind of like Moffat or RTD continuity either.
We did get a kind of a one-off reference to the TARDIS making the Kessel Run, which is a Star Wars reference, and I had to think that was from Cavan Scott there.
Well, George Mann's also written Star Wars, hasn't he?
Oh, has he?
Yeah, I think possibly. But yeah, it probably is Cavan Scott. It'd be interesting to know how they did the writing for this, whether they kind of like one writer did one of the storylines and another writer did the other.
Yeah, or how collaborative they were between the two.
Yeah, because you could easily split it up, because as you say, I mean, you could also just as easily divide this up so it's 5 separate issues per crew or something.
So, if I were to score this one,
which you need to, as
which
part
I
of
need to,
format.
it is a requirement of the show. I'm gonna give this one a 6 out of 10. And it's probably a point or two taken off for the likenesses. And story-wise, it was fine, and I liked kind of the structure, and they only ever kind of meet up in the Siberiad virtually and not in person. And I never thought I'd say this, but I feel like Chris Chibnall did the Cyberlords better. And I guess I was a little disappointed that there weren't any really any extras in the collection too. Like there's no bonus interviews or bonus strips, apart from the preludes and stuff that you'd typically find in some of the other graphic novel collections. And yeah, it was just the likenesses and some of the coloring mistakes, like with the 12th Doctor's TARDIS and such, kind of stuck out to me. But yeah, I would say a 6.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Yeah, I think I was going to say 6 as well. So, because I enjoyed it, but I also kind of feel it's certainly it's not mandatory reading. I mean, it is fun. No, I think I disagree with you about the Cyberlords. I think that this did it better.
Okay.
But I mean, certainly you don't have the whole cheesiness of like Cybermen, cyberized high Gallifrey robes. So. Yeah. At least here you haven't had Gallifrey seemingly destroyed with everybody turned into Cyberlords.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
yeah.
I can't remember whether I said that I liked it at the time, but certainly over time I have. That was a misstep. But so I some fun ideas. I am not entirely sure I will remember this in a year's time. But same way, I don't know if I don't really remember the Four Doctors, and I know I've read it. So yeah, I do think sometimes with Doctor Who comic book fiction, I think unless I read it years ago, it can sometimes not land so heavily, which is probably more of a me thing than the actual comics themselves. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on whoever the 5th Doctor was traveling with, because at first glance I was like, oh, is that supposed to be Nyssa? And then I was looking at her outfit, I'm like, no, then maybe is it Tegan? And then when he said, oh, Perry, I was like, what? I just, that was just, I thought it was a new companion for a second.
Yes, maybe it could have been such up to Araman.
Yeah.
A different garb or something. But yes. Yeah.
Well, shall we move on to listener feedback?
Yeah, let's.
Listen.
All right, we have an email. We've heard once more from listener Jen in Ohio, so thank you, Jen, for writing in. She says, great catching up with Iris and Panda in your most recent podcast.
Cool.
I've only ever heard Iris's stories on audio, so it was good fun hearing about some of her written adventures. Jen goes on to say, you mentioned Captain Turner from Old Flames. I wanted to let you know that Big Finish have done an entire series of audios featuring him in Wild Time Reloaded.
Oh.
Which is cool. I didn't realize that. And then she also says, the walking and talking poodles and dogs from Mad Dogs and Englishmen don't feel as strange now, since we've also had Carvanista and the Lupari on screen. And that's certainly true.
She has a point.
And then she goes on to say, I wonder if the species or planets are related in some way. It's a real shame that Chris Chibnall airlocked the entire species except for Carvanista and Flux.
Yes.
And I forgot about that, where he essentially kills off like 7 billion.
Yes.
Although he also destroyed, half the universe in Flux, so who's to say Carvanista's planet would have survived anyhow. So, but thank you, Jen. Great thoughts and some connections there that we missed. So appreciate that. Chris, how about on Facebook?
Don't think there's anything much on Facebook, but Twitter though.
Yeah, on Twitter we've heard from Keith Say, 50DW50 on Twitter, who thanked us for the Iris Wildtime podcast. And he tweeted a picture of Panda, or it could be Hi-Fi, I suppose, reading along with a hardback copy of the Celestial Omnibus. So thank you. That was a very cute picture. And then we heard from Obverse Books themselves, who say, lovely to see our very first book getting some attention. Edited by Paul Mars and Stuart Douglas, with artwork by June Hudson and cover design by Mark Mikulowski. I didn't realize that Iris was Obverse's first project.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
And then we also heard from Cody Shell and Stuart Douglas, who liked our podcast about the Celestial Omnibus. And Cody writes, this popped up in my feed and I enjoyed listening. This is in regard to the Senora Ciente Cinco, where he says, I'm so glad you got it. Please forgive me for giving so many pronunciation challenges. You took me back in time to how excited I was to be published for the first time and how incredibly fond I am of that story. And I didn't realize that Cody had actually published an anthology of short stories featuring the luchador himself, Senior 105.
Yeah.
So there's even more tales. I feel like one step far removed from Doctor Who, but...
Well, I remember in the early days of the show, we sort of said, we won't do any Iris World Time or any anthologies or anything like that, because that would be just too far removed from the show.
Yeah, we keep expanding, right?
Yes,
so who knows, maybe someday. And then Cody writes also that in response to one comment, he wanted to mention that Avarice Books does do its best to have a variety of authors, especially women writers, and that there's a Faction Paradox collection put together that features all women writers called Liberating Earth. And then Obverse chimed in and said, all women writers and a woman editor, and they were delighted when they approached Kate Orman with the idea of an all-female collection, and she was hugely enthusiastic straight away. And then Cody ends with, he will challenge us to find an Easter egg reference to the underwater menace at the end of his story. He tried to reference every Mexican-related tidbit from Doctor Who that he could, and he said, in fact, the Terrible Kings are a very vague reference to Enemy of the World. And, of course, this was written several years before we had a Mexican team of astronauts on the moon in Kill the Moon.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for that feedback. It's tremendous, especially when the authors write in to share their thoughts as well.
Tremendous, scary. Yeah.
And I think that brings us to what we're going to be reading for next month.
I believe so, yeah. So what are we going to be reading, Matt?
Well, we are starting up a new Doctor cycle, and the field is completely open. So I have my pick of items. And I think it feels most right to maybe start with the most recent Doctor first. So...
The 14th.
Not quite.
No.
Before her era fades from our minds too much, the 13th Doctor, we are going to be reading a book from an author that we haven't read before.
Oh, okay.
We're going to be reading The Secret in Vault 13. By David Solomons, which is available in hardcover, paperback, digitally, and was first published in November of 2018. And it's also available on audio CD and Audible, read by Sophie Aldred.
Cool. Okay.
So that'll be for June.
Yes, I am looking forward to reading that.
And I think it's geared slightly for younger readers, but I think that was the intent. I don't know if that is how it plays out. We shall see.
Yes.
And the author of that title follows us on Twitter too, so
okay,
exciting stuff.
Yes, good. I'm just trying to remember whether, because dear listener, by the time you'll have heard this, I will have, broken foot permitting, I will have gone to the to Hooverville, but I don't think David Solomons is on the attendee list.
Yeah, maybe that'll be your show and tell for next month. Then we can expect a full con report.
Yeah, I'm expecting that probably will be my show and tell for May. So, unless I hate it, in which case I will not mention it.
Yeah, that'll be have just happened by the time this episode goes out.
Yes, indeed. Cool.
All right, well, until next month, this has been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. Stay safe. Happy reading.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song Doctor Who Theme Swing Jazz Version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
I haven't told you about Mousegate, have I?
No.
So we discovered a scurrying noise, and it wasn't Saunders. We'd had an invasion of mice.
Oh no.
Which we've now sorted out. The previous occupants had drilled a hole through the wall to feed a lighting cable in, and that basically had become a mouse superhighway.
Huh.
Yeah, so we sorted that out, but we did have some of the bookcases had been growing breakaway piles of books on the floor, which was also a mouse hidey place. we have been doing a lot of runs to the charity shop to kind of like, so I was like, well, look, this book we've not, just basically go, yeah, are we still likely to want to read this book, etc., etc. But like all of my Doctor Who stuff survived the cull.
Oh, good.
I can be harder nosed on this stuff than I think most people, but I just went, you know what, I'll just hang on to those for a bit longer. So, I was tempted to get rid of one of my copies of Voyager, but then I thought, well, no, one of them, the rabbit has attacks, and the other one is the colorized version that I have from the 80s, and that I don't think you can get anymore. So
yeah, like for Voyager, even the Panini version is going for a ton of money these days.
Right. Even a rabbit enhanced version?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Right, here we go. Doctor Who, Supremacy of the Cybermen. Or if you want to be properly McCoy about it, Supremacy of the Cybermen. I should point out this is the season 24 version. You would have liked this, Ace. Nemesis mines on every cyber ship. Total destruction at the press of a button. Boom! Okay, right, let's go back and we'll give it a bit more of the season 25-26. You would have liked this, Ace. Nemesis mines on every ship. Total destruction at the press of a button. Boom! There we go, that's your season 25-26, slightly less manic version. And now we'll go for the TV movie, which is far more subdued. You would have liked this, Ace. Nemesis mines on every cyber ship. Total destruction at the press of a button. Boom.
Oh, my turn.
Yeah.
This is going to be used as an Easter egg. I have a broken ankle. Which bit? Oh, Cyberman female. This bit here?
Yes.
Professor? Professor? Professor?
Thank you.
Good enough.
Hopefully, okay.
Hi, Matt. I can do an Australian Cyberman.
You can do an Australian Cyberman. Go on, Australian Cyberman.
Warning, warning. The Doctor has infiltrated the cyber fleet. Repeat, the Doctor has infiltrated the cyber fleet.
Okay, all right. Bye-bye.